Today I'm making veggie hash brown with feta. Some people also call it potato pancakes or latkes, and this is a really good way to trick kids into eating more vegetables because we're not only adding potatoes, and I'm also adding feta, which is something I've never done before, but it turned out really, really good. I'm using this Cuisinart food processor to shred everything because I'm lazy, and I have this so make it work. 1 carrot and 1 whole zucchini. And then for my potatoes, I have 1 big one and 2 kind of medium smaller one. I don't know how many pounds. I had to cut it in like quarters so it can fit into this machine thing that I love. It's so useful. I even make dough in it. So I'm shredding everything. You can also shred it by hand if that's more comfortable for you. So I need 1 big bowl, a sifter, because this is full of liquid that we do not need. So first I'm going to put it in here because it's easier to mix it in the big bowl than in the Cuisinart bowl itself. For this, I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of salt. This will help the liquid to exit from the potato, and the zucchini also has a lot of liquid in it. So mixing it with the salt, I did feel like I need a little bit more, and then we're gonna let that sit on the sifter. Putting in the sifter, and you can already see that it's starting to release some juice in a minute. Look at that, just a little squeeze. And then, oh, where is it? Did I put it in here? Oh, there you go. See, juice is already coming out. But I'm gonna let this sit and marinate in that salt for a while until I make my sauce. Ooh, this sauce is so good. I make it all the time. It's so good with burger, falafel, meatballs, dipping sauce for fries. I'm using about 1/2 cup of sour cream and a little chunk of feta. And because the feta is salty, I do not need to add salt to this dip. It is so delicious. I love feta. I feel like feta, then try this dip at least once. With meat, it's delicious, even with vegetables. Black pepper as much as you want, and then garlic. Someone mentioned that I use way too much garlic in my videos. You know what? I love garlic. Garlic lovers. I'm an adult. I added about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic to this dip. It's very garlicky. And then a small chunk of dill. Now, if you don't like dill, you can totally skip it. The sauce by itself is really good with the feta and garlic mixture, but the dill adds that extra kick that just irresistible. So delicious. Mix it together and it should look like spreadable sauce soon. Oh my god, that's so good. Ooh, and with the grilled chicken skewers, and with kebab, and those stuff. Look at that liquid. Now it's time to squeeze. You can either do this and push it to the side, or you can use a cheesecloth. By the way, those things are really expensive, so this is way easier, and you can also get in there with your hand, of course, if you're comfortable with it. But you want to squeeze out as much liquid as you want because we do not want that in our potato hash browns, veggie hash browns. So healthy. But you cannot tell that it has vegetables in it too. So once I'm done with that, I poured out the liquid. I put the mixture back in here. I'm adding some oregano. You can also add some curry if you like curry, or whatever spices you have at home. It doesn't really matter. And of course, I'm adding more garlic, a big chunk up. Yeah, maybe another 5 cloves of garlic. You know what? They're healthy. It's really, really healthy. 2 eggs. And I usually sometimes, like 2% of the time I forget, but always put your eggs in a bowl and smell it to make sure if it's good, it hasn't gone bad. Flour. Now for the flour, I'm gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoons. This kind of depends on how much liquid you squeezed out. If you squeezed out way more than I did, you can get away with putting 2 tablespoons less flour. You can just have to eyeball it. You don't want it to be too liquidy, but you don't want it to be too dry. And now for my feta. If you don't like feta or you don't have it at home, you can totally skip this, but it's a good way to use up your feta. Plus, I had this big box of feta from Costco because my local Trader Joe's didn't have the one I normally use. But this was way too much feta and I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought about putting it in here and it actually turned out great. You can barely taste it in the hash browns, which was very surprising. And this is about the texture I want. Not too wet, not too dry, just kind of in the middle. Now, oil. You're gonna need a lot of oil. Well, not too much, but still a lot. And the heat is medium low. You want it to cook low and slow. Otherwise, it could burn. And I feel like these first ones I did were a little too fat. And I also noticed that this pan, it's actually a crepe pan. It's not completely flat, so the oil is just like on the edges, so I had to rotate them to make sure that all the sides of the potato is touching the oil, so it's frying. Checking on the bottom if it's golden brown. When it's golden brown, I flip it over, and I can always flip it back over if I want to add a little more browning, but it's better to make it a little thinner than what I have here. That way it cooks faster. And you make sure that the inside cooks too, because you do not want this to be raw on the inside. That's why low and slow. Plus, we also have zucchini in here. Yeah, don't ask me about the calories, but it's half vegetable and zucchini is low calorie, so it's delicious. And I'm telling you, it's a great way to trick kids into eating more vegetables because they will never know. You can't even tell that there's anything else besides potato in here. And with that sauce, oh, it is dreamy. I'm already hungry and I just ate. So easy to make and very, very delicious breakfast idea. Enjoy.